Thank you for downloading episode 21 of the Metroparks Podcast. As always, he is Matt. I am Lorenzo. Matt, how you doing this week?
Good.
Yeah?
The big 21.
No.
Lucky number
there
21.
you go.
Oh, God. This is going to be a disaster now. I've screwed up my own line.
No, I have a feeling this is going to be a very positive podcast. I can feel it.
I do, too.
Yeah.
An exciting time. People are getting back out. We've got two wildly passionate people on, which always helps. We're going to talk about paddling, but sort of a larger discussion, too, about safety and programming. So pretty exciting time to be in the parks.
Yeah.
It's good to be here with you today.
How's the last few weeks been?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
All things considered. I feel like, everyone's kind of coming out of their caves.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot going on in the Metroparks, but it certainly feels good to be serving, right?
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Seeing the parks full of people and
a lot of rain, but a lot of green, like things are starting to bloom. So
Yeah.
not to sound overly trite, but it does feel better.
yeah,
Right?
just looking outside will make you feel better right now.
Look outside yourself. This is a good. It's like we should have our own like self-help program also, which will probably be equally popular to this.
We could make it work.
Watch out, 35 downloads. The 7 Steps to Being Happy and Success by Lorenzo and Matt Killam.
Everyone, look outside.
That's right.
Open your eyes.
That's right.
There you go. See?
I should start writing some of these.
Yeah. Can I tell you, over the weekend I had to umpire my son's baseball game.
Yeah.
And I have.
Are you about to admit to a crime?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But I haven't. I used to umpire a long time, and so I just got thrust into this. I didn't have one, and my legs still hurt from Saturday.
From umpiring?
Because I had to squat. So it's like just a little squat every pitch.
I squat the entire time we record this podcast. I don't know if people aren't aware of that.
Tree trunks. You got the legs the size of tree trunks.
That is more painful than you can imagine, what you just said to me. But a lot of it's just working on my core.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
So I assume down in there somewhere deep there is
a good core?
Somewhere. There has to be.
Your abs and your heart?
Yeah, thank you. This is a tearjerker. This is really an emotional.
Anyway, my legs still hurt.
Yeah.
And the coach.
My ears are hurting.
The coach put my son into pitch, so I had to call balls
and
strikes.
My God. What the worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Is Mateo a pretty good pitcher?
Well, nobody.
Your daughter is.
Nobody at 9-year-old is, but.
Your daughter is the stronger of the two. Do they listen to the show?
They don't. No.
Okay. Your daughter's the stronger of the two. Baseball, softball players, correct?
I mean, he's better than her because of experience. But if we had them both start at the same time, she'd be better.
Yeah.
Okay. But he's okay. The balls and strikes aren't the hard part. For me, that's easy. I couldn't say anything to help him.
Yes.
Or to even like.
You're no longer the dad and the coach. You're an umpire.
Yeah. And he teared up a little bit out there.
Yeah. That's how my dad led me his entire life. Oddly, also from a crouched position. So he's very strong. He has the strongest legs of anyone in Northwest Ohio. I mean, they don't look like much. They look like 2 white javelins. But they're powerful from umpiring his son's life.
Yeah.
A lot of judging.
All right.
Right? It's part of the role.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll add that for our self-help podcast. All right, man. We've got 2 guests. Yeah. They are champing at the bit. Is it chomping or champing? That's for another show. But I can see them pressing their faces against the glass. Let's get to them.
Okay.
Introduce these folk.
All right. We'll be right back with our guests this week, Amanda Domalski, outdoor skills interpreter, and Kyle Robison, ranger out at Sidecut.
You're going to screw this up.
And we're back with our guests this week, Amanda Domalski, outdoor skills interpreter, and Kyle Robison, ranger out at the West region.
Sidecut.
All right, nice. Well, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Yep.
Thanks for having us.
So there is a seasonality to this, right? So we are bringing in our paddling experts to talk about paddling, and we want to hear all about that and why the season is what it is and why this is such a fast moving outdoor rec or activity. But I want to get down to the really interesting stuff. I know the 2 of you pretty well, but for our listeners who may or may not have met you, Kyle, tell me a little bit about you.
I have always wanted to be in the outdoors, have a job in the outdoors. always hunting, camping, doing all that as a kid, and decided, well, why not make a career out of it? So went down to Hocking Hills.
All right.
Got a degree from Hocking Hills, came back up here, got my peace officer certification, and kind of went from there.
Where is here? Where'd you grow up?
I'm originally from Perrysburg area.
Okay.
So grew up in Toledo, spent my whole life here.
If you follow high school football, Lorenzo is marginally overseeing the wide receivers and tight ends.
Just tight ends this year.
Well, he's actually, his part of his role has been taken away.
It just got changed.
Yeah.
Just changed.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
if you know anything about tight ends, that's that
I'm trying to gather all the information I can.
That's right. He really needs a lot of help. So, Perrysburg kid, and your folks, brothers and sisters, are outdoors people? What?
No, my brother is actually in business, and we are about as complete polar opposites as possible.
Sure.
He hates the outdoors.
Yeah.
Spends it in an office. Loves life in an office. So
Anything you'd like to say terrible about him now that he's not here?
no, we're good.
Okay.
We're gonna let that one slide.
My man. All right. Yeah. You can just pass me a note afterwards. Amanda, how much do you hate Kyle's brother?
Never met.
Okay. Tell us about you.
I'm also from the Toledo area. Grew up in Sylvania area. Definitely loved being outdoors as a child. Playing outside, catching frogs, all that fun stuff. Actually, kind of stumbled into this career. Went to school to be a geologist, and then after graduation, started working here as a seasonal for a summer job while I was looking for a job in my field.
Sure.
And
the geology field is cutthroat.
very cutthroat.
Yeah.
But really, really loved my time here as a seasonal, and had an opportunity to stick around year round, and I took it and been here ever since.
So how long have you been with Metroparks?
About 7 years now.
Kyle, how about you, buddy?
15, I think.
15 to 7. All right, how about that? So it was real lineage. Thank you both for that, and on behalf of the Park District. We're lucky to have you.
You sound so sincere.
He's awful. We'll just edit that out. If I knew how to plug in any of these things, I wouldn't have him on the show. But we're here. You both, obviously, to me, but probably not to others, are paddling experts. So talk to me about when you got this bug, Kyle.
Back when I went through the police academy, I used to be a scuba diver.
Okay.
Always had a love for water, boating, scuba diving, everything. Always in the water.
When did you take your first swimming lessons, and where were they?
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
Yeah,
a pond, and it was good luck. Toss you in.
But it must have been
It passed, so we're
You're still here
good.
today. Yeah.
I went through the academy, and I actually found a kayak in a trash can.
Get out of town.
Yeah, ended up being a Jackson All-Star. It's a whitewater boat. So
Jackson All Stars, a kind of boat.
yes, sorry, it's
that's okay.
It's a whitewater play boat. They're really, really short, like maybe 4 foot long, if that.
Okay.
Found it in a trash can with a crack down the center.
Yeah.
I was like, I could probably fix that.
How about that?
So I looked up how to weld plastic and put some plastic together, and went down to a pond and try and see if it would work.
Was she seaworthy?
Yeah, pretty much jumped in. I was like, oh man, it doesn't leak. That's awesome.
Yeah, and good to go.
While I was there, I had a guy show up, and he's like, hey, we do this every Wednesday. Come on out on a Wednesday.
Where was it? Where were you?
At Perrysburg, Three Meadows Pond.
Okay.
So just went around the neighborhood to go jump in a pond. This guy luckily was there and was like, hey, I'll show you how to do this.
How old were you?
21, 22.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So just hanging out, just trying to make sure it didn't leak.
Sure.
And I had a rec paddle, which are a lot longer,
Okay.
a little bit more flimsy.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, you don't want that. We can't work with that.
Let me help you out.
Yeah. But he's like, come back. I'll set you up with all the gear you need, and we'll teach you how to do this.
Before finding this treasure, you had canoed or kayak before?
Yep. Yeah. Growing up, we would always go up and do the Sabo River.
Okay.
And just do a bunch of river trips with the family in the summers.
A whole family in the canoe or kayak?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
Yeah. All right. Amanda, when you threw away that junky boat, did you ever think that you'd be...
Little did we know.
That's right. So how'd you get the bug here?
Yeah, paddled also as a kid, went to summer camp, that kind of thing. Mostly canoeing back at that time. And then when I started my employment here, had an opportunity to get certified with the American Canoe Association as a kayak and canoe instructor, which I jumped on, obviously.
Sure.
Also love water.
Talk to me a little bit about that certification. What is that process like?
So it's a multi-week process. You do like a development workshop workshop with the instructor just to make sure you know all the different strokes and the skills and the rescues. And
How
all
many
those
different
things.
strokes are there?
Quite a few.
Okay, I don't mean to press you here, but I need to know the number.
I'm gonna have to get back to you.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, quite a few. Most people
amazing
know
to
they're
me.
forwards, they're backwards,
Yeah.
but you can do strokes to move you sideways, and there's different turning strokes that stop you less. So
Do they have names?
Yeah.
They do. How about that, Kyle? Do you know?
No, big difference. We don't do any of the strokes. Just
Yeah, just
Go
for your
down
life.
there.
Yeah, just
just stay upright.
that's right. Well, you're nailing that. So, all right. So, getting all the 14, 15, no one knows. So you can say any number. We'd agree with it. Strokes
Definitely
down.
15. Yep.
In multiple weeks. Talk to me about the testing. Other than sink or swim approach by Kyle here, what was the final test for this certification like?
Yeah, and then there's a certification exam. So that was a multi-day process where we essentially demonstrate that we know all the strokes, can do them properly with the right form,
Okay.
Know the different rescues so that
sure.
we can be safe on the water, know the teaching format. They have a very set curriculum and teaching format that you need to use to make sure it's all customizable. It's a national organization.
Okay.
And if you do all the skills correctly and kind of demonstrate everything accurately, you get certified.
Okay, so there's like a written and maneuverability portion or driving similarity.
Yeah, there was also a
It makes
slight
sense to
written
me.
exam as well. So it was a really great experience
Yeah.
because I definitely didn't know most of those strokes before that. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, I could go forwards, backwards, and turn my boat and thought I was good. And
Yeah, sure. A lot more to it.
that's what most of us, know before that. So
And there's
it
a
was-
difference
it was
between
great.
enjoying it yourself and then teaching others to do it. So there's always a layer of complexity that adds to make sure that you are truly the expert, which you both are. So this paddling or paddling in general appears to really be gaining steam. But before we get into that, why are people in the water now, or when can you start getting in the water? What's the seasonality of it?
Yeah, I would say your peak of paddle season is kind of Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay.
After that, you need some specialized gear and skills to make sure you're being safe with colder water and faster moving water, that sort of thing. But if you have the right skills and experience, you can get on the river or on the water before that.
Kyle, the safety portions of it, the water temperature, what are we looking at here? I remember hearing this because we were talking about paddling at Howard Marsh 3 years ago, and I was educated pretty quickly on the water temperature being problematic there. Can either one of you talk to me a little bit about that? What is a safe temperature for that?
That's all you, Amanda.
Yeah, so here at Metroparks, again, we follow the American Canoe Association's guidelines. So you should be paddling with a wetsuit or a dry suit if the water temperature is below 60 degrees or if the combined air and water temperature doesn't add up to 120.
Okay, so how do I find out as a layperson what the temperature of what a body of water is?
If you're going for the Maumee River, that's available online. Actually, if you check out the Walleye Run website, that's
Sure.
the easiest place to find it. Super accessible. You can also look on the USGS site, but Walleye Run's easier. For our small bodies of water, you're looking at the thermometer.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's
it's
as
not
good as any.
reported anywhere. Yeah.
Last year, Lorenzo gave me as a birthday present a giant cotton paddling suit. Is that good?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Oh.
That's going to hold water and
Seemed like a
not going to work very well at all.
I got it on Wish. So
yes.
Goes on sale.
That's right. He was also dumpster diving. You probably saw him. So talk to me a little bit about gear. So both of you do this in your spare time as well. So where do I go to get gear? Where was a good way to try this out if I think this is a good idea? What's step one as a novice?
There's a bunch of places. REI is up in
Yeah.
Ann Arbor.
Sure.
Very easy place to get to. They have a lot of flat water paddling, stuff
Okay.
like that. There's Kayak Corral is up in Michigan, just over the line.
They just closed
Oh, well,
just this year.
This just in.
so that was there.
yeah, that wasn't great.
There's a fire sale. Everyone out this weekend. That's okay. No one listens to this show, Kyle.
Yeah.
Say
So
literally anything.
there's a Whitewater Warehouse is where we do a lot of ours at.
Okay.
They're down in Dayton, Ohio,
Yeah.
and we can get all of our gear down there through them.
Cool.
And then there's a bunch of stuff online. If you really want specific gear, specific colors, you can go try it on places and then find them online to
Awesome.
where you can get the right stuff.
Did two of you have your own boat, like your own kayak? Tell me which kind you've chosen. Which one is yours?
So I think I have 5 boats.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
All right, man.
So one thing to kind of throw out there is
Yeah.
there's a big difference between the kayaking that we do She does a lot of flat water, open water, long distance.
Yes.
And that's what Jim Cassidy has been on here before.
Yes.
He does a lot of long distance.
Okay.
I don't like to paddle.
Sure. Okay.
So I like white water going down rivers.
Brother, you are speaking my language here. Yeah.
Very short runs.
Yeah. All cotton.
Yeah. No.
Oh no, still no. Okay. Yeah. Right.
So we run in dry suits and we wear helmets, which usually they don't wear those on the flat water, but we got to worry about being stuck in the boat because we actually have skirts on that kind of glue us into the boat.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I had 2 boats that were considered to be play boats. They're very small. You can kind of whip them around and do cartwheels and all sorts of fun stuff.
Sweet.
A river runner, and then I had 1 or 2 that are meant for bigger water.
Okay.
Or going over waterfalls.
Sweet. All right. So this is although the water's taking you, you are a participant in this. This isn't this isn't a lazy river.
Yeah, not at all.
Okay. Well, then maybe we were more separate than I thought.
What's the you said over waterfalls? What's the furthest you've dropped?
Personally, for me, it's about 10 feet at Cuyahoga,
Wow.
which is absolutely nothing for the group of people that we hang out with.
Okay.
I have a 16-year-old kid that kayaks with us. His name's Elliot, and he did a 45, I do believe.
Get out of town.
All in Ohio. He ran 5 different...
Elliot from ET?
No.
Whatever happened to that kid?
No, I don't know about that kid.
Yeah, me neither. But I think we all know.
Yeah, he ran 5 different waterfalls all in Ohio.
45-foot drop. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, if Lorenzo did, do you think we'd have trouble finding a helmet for him?
No, we could make one work. I'm sure.
Yeah, we'd have to make one.
I don't like the that's been said we can make it work. No, that doesn't. This noggin doesn't make stuff work.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but Lorenzo's head has its own senator.
We'll glue and duct tape. We'll make it work.
That's right. Where the other boat is the helmet. So that is a tremendous commitment, though, to this passion and hobby. 5 boats from one that you pulled out of a dumpster.
Yeah. It grew pretty fast.
Yeah, no kidding. So certainly passionate and got the bug. To you both, this is in the last 3 years, paddling has sort of taken off. What is the draw? Like, what is the draw to you? I guess this is sort of a philosophy question. What draws you to it?
Just different way to experience nature on the water.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe if you haven't done it, but the wildlife you see is phenomenal. You can really get up close on it from a safe, respectful distance, but really just experience everything in a whole new light, for me at least. How about you, Kyle?
No, I would agree 100%. Some of these rivers that we do in West Virginia and Pennsylvania, you see places that you aren't going to see unless you run these rivers to get there.
Yeah.
So really neat places to see. And I think it's gotten a lot better at the fact of kayaking's gotten a lot cheaper.
Talk to me about that.
It used to be very expensive to get a kayak. Kayaks were $600, and then you had to buy a paddle and hard to transport them. Now it's been pretty economical to get ways to transport your kayaks, and nowadays you can go to Myers and get one for $100.
Right, and you can certainly try it out with one of those.
Yeah, and you can try it out. If you like it, you upgrade to something a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and go from there.
I kayaked for the first time as a Metroparks employee, so that's within the last 3 years. And I have to tell you, I did it with some hesitation. I just wanted to be a good sport. And I hate canoeing. I want to get to that. It's really the whole show's theme is mad against railing against canoeing. But my experience was really peaceful. To your point, you get to see things that you'd have to trek down and cut through a lot of brush to see. Being that close to the water, there is an intrinsic piece to it. I totally agree with you. You can paddle as much as you'd like, and in the Maumee, you can almost always just get out of the boat and drag it if you want. I mean, the water doesn't go up past you're shaking your head. Educate me here.
Depends where you are.
Okay.
I mean, certainly if you're paddling around Missionary Island out of Farnsworth later in the season, there's a decent number of shallow places down there. But if you were downtown's launching out of middle grounds, you're swimming a lot of the time. It just depends where you are.
Absolutely. Talk about that trek around Farnsworth where our boat launch is. Well, that was where I went, and it was very user-friendly. Programmer helped me into the boat, or at least talked me through the process. So what is that experience like?
Oh, man. And I mean, I'm sure you've paddled the Missionary Island area as well. It's just beautiful there. So there's a nice island complex with multiple islands, and you can go between them and the different channels. And it's a wildlife area. So the wildlife you see there is absolutely phenomenal. The current during the summertime is pretty manageable. It's not very strong there, so it's very beginner friendly. One of the reasons the kayak concession is there, and just really phenomenal place to get away. You wouldn't even believe you're in the Toledo area when you're between islands.
And I think part of it being able to choose sort of your own adventure, right? It can be like as long as you want and as easy as you want. But cutting through that island, is there a particular route that you like, Kyle, there? Or are you so advanced now that represents a little too beginner for?
No, definitely not. And there's a lot of times that we'll go do flat water. We'll get our big boats that track a little bit better.
Okay.
And we'll just do
What's
flat water. Go in a straight line.
Okay.
So for us, our little boats, they don't go in a straight line at all.
Yeah.
They kind of go with the current, and you really quickly paddle out of the danger zones of where you don't want to go.
Got it.
The bigger boats track a little bit better. And in the summer, just to get a workout or to go around Missionary, like she said, it's a beautiful paddle down there. And if you want to park on the island, you can actually walk the island.
Oh, great.
It is owned by the state of Ohio. There's an old dance floor.
Get out of town.
Yeah, there's an old dance floor out there. I know there's a car and a tractor.
Yeah, sure.
So
As there should
everyone
be.
likes to go see the history of the island and find some of these things on the island.
Some
so
treasure. Yeah,
there's
great.
a little scavenger hunt in there as well.
Granger is the same way. There's submerged cars in that, and just thinking how this could have possibly come to be is fun. But a dance floor is new information to me.
Yeah.
That's probably we should have celebrate our 30th podcast.
Yeah.
We'll have
on the dance floor.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think to have a group out, right?
Yeah.
We'll have Amanda Padless out there. We can use your head to track.
There we go.
Am I getting that right?
Yep.
It's the,
Yep,
set,
we're
the
good.
side, the bigger, the better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, your head is built for tracking. This is strictly turning into the most negative podcast we've ever had.
No, it's not.
Certainly not as a result of the two of you.
Hey, what are your thoughts on? I have very strong thoughts on the tandem kayaking. I just like to know what your thoughts are on that.
You want to go for it, Kyle?
We actually do have those in whitewater kayaking as well.
Yeah.
To where you can jump in, 2 people, go down whitewater. I've never seen it end up very well at all.
Okay. What about you, Robin?
They're really great for families, so mostly we utilize them for, a parent and a younger child who hasn't quite managed the whole steering thing yet. They're really great in that environment. We also use them in our adaptive paddling programs, so it can allow some other people to get on the water. Besides that, what they say about canoes being divorce boats, tandem kayaks.
Yes.
100%.
Kind of be
2000,
the-
yeah.
We did one on our honeymoon many years ago.
First marriage.
And I called it the divorcer.
Yeah.
Because it all we did was argue the whole time. And we were in Florida.
Yeah.
And I never want to do it again. I was like, we can go kayaking, but let's just go separate.
Yeah.
But I think that's
Or
why
with a
people get
child.
into kayaking now.
I agree with you. Yeah.
They try the canoe and they're like, I can do better on my own.
Yeah.
And
Right.
saving families.
Yeah, like Jeff or Laura Canoe, whoever created those, must be shaking in their boots. They're like, we don't stand a chance now. I mean, this is a disaster. Adaptive, Amanda, talk to me about. There are a lot of barriers to getting in the water. Some of it's just natural fear or not having the experience. So, but talk about all of that in terms of getting people in the water, or giving people the opportunity to get in the water who ordinarily may seem like or feel like it's not for them.
Yeah. So all of our programs are super accessible. So whether that's if you're nervous because it's your first time, we have very beginner-friendly try-it programs. It's an hour long, not too much of a commitment of your life. If you hate it, that's okay, or it's a great opportunity in that hour to see if you do love it. And we'll teach you the basic strokes, get you out on the water. You go along with a guide who's a naturalist as well as trained in rescues. If you were to capsize, they know exactly what to do to get you back on. So definitely we're set up to handle some of those nervousness issues. And then we also have quite a bit of gear that we've acquired over the years, as well as training to help get people who may have some sort of physical barrier that prevents them from paddling a boat as is. We have all sorts of seat backs and different equipment that we can use to help the boat work for them and allow them to create a good, safe paddling position to get them on the water to have a good time.
Awesome. For both of you, is there a favorite trip or paddling experience that you had? One, like not necessarily an aha moment, but something that really calls out to you, like, oh God, we were in West Virginia and it was great. Do you have one that stands out?
Yeah, one of ours is Ohio Pile, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Beautiful little town. There's not a gas station in town.
Okay.
Very small, big biking community. The Allegheny bike trail goes through there. So it's a really neat kind of outdoorsy town, and it's one of our beginner rivers. So the aha moment comes for me when we can get new, younger people into the sport and see them go down a class 2 rapid with no issues and just love it. So
cool.
Yep.
Amanda?
I'd say a couple years back, I did a long paddle on the Maumee, a couple days camping, and got to experience the entire stretch of the Maumee, and that was very cool, as it's the river that runs through our backyard. So seeing the parts of it I hadn't experienced before,
Sure.
and really seeing it from start to finish was a really cool experience for me.
All right.
Yeah.
What about trips coming up? Anything that you've got on? I mean, we've got a busy paddling year and a busy year across the park district in general. But plans, a trip that you've got scheduled or able to look forward to, or what's the paddling for 2021 look like for both of you?
I don't have anything planned at all. Some people that I know have done the Grand Canyon,
How about that?
and you have to pull permits a few years ahead of time.
Sure.
So if I can get out with one of them, when you rent a raft and you have a guide with the raft with all your food,
Yeah.
but then you run the Grand Canyon in a kayak,
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
that's on my to-do list. So hopefully, if not next year, the year after.
Sure.
Is that a thing where you have to be like super experienced? to
No,
do it?
it's most of it's only class 3 rapids.
Okay.
So you need to know what you're doing, because you don't want the people you're going with to rescue you every 100 feet.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But there's a lot of flat water on it as well. So even though we're going for the white water, we still have a lot of areas that you can flat water and just kind of enjoy it.
Hang
Do
out.
some fishing,
Sure.
camp on the banks, just enjoy it.
How many classes are there of water?
So there's technically 5, if not 6. 6 means that it's never been run before.
Never been, so it's totally uncharted territory.
Yep. But there's 5 classes of river, but that can also be broken down. There's a group in Cleveland called the Keel Haulers.
Yeah, I hate
They-
those guys.
They have their own book, and you can actually take a test on there to say, okay, I'm a strong swimmer,
Yeah.
or I have this paddling skill, or this is my skill range, and then they can tell you what kind of rivers you can run at your current ability. And it kind of gives you a start point, and that starts from I think like 15 all the way up to 36.
Cool.
So it breaks it down a little bit more, because it's pretty hard for people to go out there and say, okay, well, I've ran a class 4 rapid.
Absolutely.
And, well, what makes this class 4 different from another class 4? Completely different. And a big thing about classes of rapids are the potential for extreme danger. It's actually not how many rapids are there or what the rapids are like, because you could have a bunch of waves in a pool. Your chance for death or extreme injury are pretty low. So
So the class status is based on the potential fatality.
potential dangers.
Danger, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. Amanda, what about you for a paddling trip?
This summer, I am going up to the Boundary Waters to do some canoe camping, which I am very excited about. That's definitely a bucket list trip for me. Really looking forward to that, and hoping to do a little bit of scouting. We'd love to get into some destination paddling
Sure.
trips through Metroparks, so doing a little scouting for feasibility as well as just really enjoying that trip.
Awesome.
Where is that? The
Boundary Waters.
Yeah, where is that?
So it's up between U.S. and Canada. It's just a whole series of lakes and rivers that connect.
okay.
So there's not one route through it. The possibilities are endless.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to get paid to do this? I'm going to volunteer.
Looks like we have our first trip volunteer.
I'm stuck on this crappy podcast with Lorenzo.
Hey, destination podcast.
That's right. Yeah.
Forget the dance.
We'll just sit in
floor.
the back of your boats and broadcast live.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Well, that sounds amazing. I want to back up just a little bit. So, the getting information from an experienced person to a non-experienced person, the water trail, the blue trail that the Metroparks worked with a lot of institutions to put together. Can you walk us through some of the ways to plan for a trip or some of these experiences? The entity that you just mentioned, Kyle, is really interesting to me. That it gives you information for planning. But can you tell us a little bit about the Blue Way? The water trail that we work through, and what the components of that are in terms of a communication method.
Yeah. So for the water trail, there's a really, really nice brochure that you can get online, or we hand it out at a lot of programs that lists all the different access points. Mm-hmm. And then they're also marked from the water very visibly in a consistent manner. So it's very easy to identify this is a place I can put in or take out. That map also gives you kind of the details you would need to know of how far do I need to carry my boat boat if I were to launch here? Are there restrooms? Is there drinking water available? Camping. So if you're doing a multi-day trip, you can locate the launches such as Farnsworth that have a campground associated with it where you could stay the night. So you can really use that as a resource to help put together day trips or more extended overnight trips if you want, and really have everything you need there. It also indicates potential hazards such as dams. There are multiple dams on the Maumee River that you need to make sure you portage around, as well as places where there are rapids. So really, really great resource for planning trips on the Maumee River. As far as whitewater goes, you are definitely the expert in what that looks like.
I think you mentioned a couple here, or this, that's a great reference that you just mentioned, but can you refresh us on what you just said and talk about if you're planning a trip someplace else, a good resource for planning that trip you go to where?
The Keel Haulers website is Cleveland-based, and I think they have a Facebook page, and you can look them up, just a Google search.
Sure.
And they're just more or less telling you, okay, you have this skill, you're in this bracket of rivers, and it'll give you rivers. It does most everything this side of the Mississippi. They have a few West Coasts, but a lot of stuff down in Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, stuff like that. So it gives you a lot of options. So even if you're not ready to do a river that's closer to home here, they say, okay, you can do this one. Well, cool, that gives me something else to look at and kind of enjoy a different side of it.
And just to make sure that I'm fully understanding, so a Class 4 water system in Delta, Ohio is the same as in Eastern Missouri based on this universal standard, or how that mechanism?
Yes. So for the most part, yes, they're the same.
Okay.
The difference is how tight the rapids are together.
Okay.
And possibly the length of it, or how much flat water is in between it.
Okay. But
they could both be Class 4s, but one could be a Class 4 that has, we'll say, 20 different rapid names inside it, and you could have a Class 4 river that only has 10 rapids in between. So there's a lot more slow-moving flat water in between rapids.
But the Keel Haulers is a resource that gives you an idea of what you'll be experiencing there.
Correct.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so let's bring it back to our beginners here from Northwest Ohio and Metroparks standpoint. Kayaking 101, or things of that variety. How do I start my first paddling experience? What do you recommend? Am I heading out to Farnsworth to rent a boat, or am I taking 101? What's the best avenue of approach in that way?
So in our Metroparks programs, for a first-time paddler, I would recommend you either can go out and rent at a place like Farnsworth or at the Kayak Share Locker at Howard Marsh. If you're at all nervous about it, I recommend first coming to one of our guided paddles.
Sure.
So a Kayak Try It. We have short 1-hour try-its where we'll really walk you through everything, give you all the basic skills you need, how to get into the boat. Very accessible, show you everything you need, and it's perfect for a first-time paddler. So definitely check out those Try It kayak programs.
Sure, that's good advice.
For new paddlers. And then we do have a class series above that goes a little more in depth. They're longer classes. They teach more strokes, more skills. That would be like our Kayak 101, 201 series, that sort of thing. But start with the Try It. That's a good place.
How old do I need to be to start kayaking?
With Metroparks, for our guided paddles, our minimum age is 8.
Okay.
They will rent younger than that out of the Farnsworth kayak concession, again, because they have tandem kayaks available.
Okay.
So you can have a adult guardian with a younger child, kind of help them out. If you want to get your kid in a boat outside of Metroparks, though, I think that's a very personal decision.
Yeah, I'd like to put my kids in a boat right now. I mean, it doesn't have to be a kayak. It can be any vessel. The SS Minnow.
A garbage vessel.
Yeah, that's right. Where was that dumpster again? Just out of curiosity.
What's the youngest? I guess
we go all throughout. It really depends on their ability. If they can hold the paddle, if they can paddle, and the parents feel safe with it, great, let them go. I know there's a lot of people in the kayaking community that do tandems.
Yes.
And they'll put their young kid in the front of the tandem and let them at least go down rivers or go hang out, and they love it.
They're just a voyager at that point.
At 2 years old, you can throw a life vest on him as long as you don't think he's going to crawl out.
Yeah.
Great. He can go enjoy it and have fun and enjoy the sun and being outside.
Sure.
And that's what sparks the interest at a very young age, and it helps out at that point.
Okay, so that is really good information if I wanted to access or start paddling. I do want to get sort of some general information for safety. Kyle, I'm going to hand that over to you. What are some tried and true just facts that people need to know about interacting with the water and paddling safely?
So at least for us here in Northwest Ohio, the big draw is the Maumee River. Mm-hmm. Everyone likes to do it, and we do offer the kayaking from Farnsworth down to Sidecut, and I know there's a few other people that offer that same run for us. We just need to make sure that we watch water levels.
Okay.
And like Amanda said before, that you can jump onto USGS or the Walleye Run and see what the water levels are.
One more time, USGS stands for?
U.S. Geological
Society.
Okay, U.S. Geological
Survey,
Society.
Whatever. I think you're right. I think it's survey.
Okay, got it. That's
So-
what gives us close enough. Okay,
Yep.
keep going.
And you just look up the Maumee water level at Waterville,
Okay.
which the Waterville Bridge is where it's at.
Okay.
And that'll kind of show you what the flow rate is,
Okay.
and it also tells you what the gauge height is.
Okay.
And as long as you kind of pay attention to when we have big heavy rains and if the water's moving pretty fast,
Yeah.
if you go out of Farnsworth, you might not be able to get back to where you put in. So
Sure.
that might be a day where you want to make sure you're running from point A to point B, but also knowing your skill level and how to go about that. The Waterville Bridge and the old Interurban Bridge have created a few hazards for
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
So making sure when we have those high water days that you know that you can go through there safely
Okay.
or not, and planning accordingly. Maybe you just pick a different day to go kayaking.
So now we will just shut down our concession, right, if the water levels
Correct.
are too high or it's unsafe. But if you had your own boat or we're going to borrow one, you check these two websites. But also, if who do I call if you want to talk to an individual? Is there our general line? Go ahead, Amanda.
You're always welcome. You can call the general line. My number is also accessible on the website, and I'm always more than happy to hook people up with
Terrific.
what the water level's at, what their skill level is, and if they are a good match for the water level
Terrific.
with their skill level.
Okay, all right. And also, if I'm borrowing my neighbor's boat because I want to give this a try, what should I be wearing?
Definitely not cotton, full cotton wear.
Lorenzo, you monster.
That is not going to work for
Yeah,
you.
I knew it. But what should I wear?
Properly fitted personal flotation device, absolutely at all times.
Gotcha.
I know Ohio law says you have to have one in the boat with you, but really that's not enough. It's like wearing a seatbelt. It's too late to put it on when you need it.
Yep.
So you really should have it on and have it tight enough and properly fitted before you get in the boat.
Okay. That's really helpful. All right.
And then I did want to chime in. Kyle did a great job of discussing that you want to keep an eye on those rain events. A lot of people are familiar with the fact that the Maumee River is high in the springtime, but this can happen all year round.
Okay.
Even in June or July, the water level after a large rain event could be high and unsafe for beginners to paddler. And also keep in mind the Maumee River is a huge watershed.
Right. The rain in Indiana could be
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's a big rain event in Fort Wayne, we may not even have rain, and the river could be at dangerous conditions for people to paddle. So
every time we
watch
close
those.
down our Farnsworth, people should call Fort Wayne and complain.
Definitely.
Got it.
Yeah, and that number is
Lorenzo, read me your number again. That's great information.
Also, along those lines, one more thing just to chime in.
Please.
The Maumee River, of course, is a place to be watching, but we also have very easy access to Lake Erie here in the Toledo area. And a lot of people go out on the lake that maybe don't realize that is essentially an ocean.
Yeah.
So you need a very certain skill set to be paddling on Lake Erie, unless you're doing a shoreline paddle and you're just very close to shore. Anytime you're getting out on Lake Erie, you need to make sure you have the proper gear and the proper skills. It's very easy to get on the water and get in over your head if you don't have the proper training to handle that big water.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. We haven't spoken about that yet, but I mean, the concept of paddling on the lake is terrifying to me. But that doesn't mean somebody won't just try it out, right? The people who live near the lake or around it see a beach and like, oh, this is probably fairly easy. That is not for a beginner. Of what it sounds like, that's not what you're recommended trying. Don't take your first trip to the plate out in the lake.
Yeah, definitely get some skills before you tackle Lake Erie,
Sure.
and mostly just knowing what to watch for. Which way is the wind blowing? How strong is the wind direction?
Yeah, right.
You could get blown out to the lake if it's an unfortunate series of events. So
Absolutely.
knowing what to watch out for is a good idea before you go on the lake.
And I know that the Toledo River Gang does a kayak event at South Bass, Putin Bay.
Yeah.
So they actually go from the mainland and they go out to Putin Bay, spend the weekend out there, and then kayak back across the lake. So if it's something that people are into, you can always look it up on Facebook and try and join that one. So you can do 5 miles out, 5 miles in, and
You paddle back.
a bunch of paddling. Just watch out for the Miller Ferry.
Yeah, that's right. That's solid advice. Yeah, solid advice. So, although we're talking about paddling today, I do want to touch on something more globally. Kyle, you are a safety officer, right?
Yes.
So, paddling is what now I describe as a problem. You're buying boats every weekend, it sounds like. But we can curb that addiction here, I think.
A little bit.
But talk to me a little bit about your role in general as a safety officer. It's not all paddling, but it's interacting with nature. You are getting to educate as well. Talk to me a little bit about your day-to-day job that you like.
So yeah, that's the great part is with me being down on the west region along the river, I do get a lot more time to spend near the water and talk to people about going down the kayak concessions, talk to them, ask kids, hey, have you guys done this before? How'd you enjoy it? Do you think you're going to keep doing this? Stuff like that. But
Sure.
All the way down to just seeing kids enjoying the parks all the way around, it's
Same for me, man.
pretty great. It's awesome to see kids having fun in the parks and knowing, hey, we did something to make someone's day just a little bit better no matter what.
Yeah, and you do a lot, so thank you.
Yep.
Amanda, same, although I suspect that your answers will be similar, mostly because you're a thief. But talk to me, paddling is something that you have the bug for as well, but you're a programmer, and although you do have a real expertise in this space, you're called on and also do a lot of other things. So talk to me a bit about your everyday and about your job in general.
Yeah, so as a programmer, really we're just doing anything we can to get people outside and connecting to their Metroparks, whether that's natural resources, cultural resources. So I'm very lucky I get to take people hiking and
Sure.
do archery, paddling, go backpacking, go camping, just really fun ways to get outside and help people make connections and build some memories and
Yeah,
just get outside themselves.
that's well said. Oh, nailed it.
Oh,
How about that?
wow.
When the two of you work together in certain your departments, programming and our rangers, a call to action, right? In COVID, we needed to be more available than ever, potentially. So your groups work together to have an After Dark series and increase hours. Not an easy gig to do, right? From a ranger's perspective, those are busy schedules, and there's a lot of responsibility in them. But talk to me about those things. That you really were a tandem, and those were really popular. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, Amanda? I know that you were present, and then I'll pass off to Kyle to talk about the rangers, which are an integral role in executing it.
Yeah, so we definitely during COVID knew there was a need for people to be outside utilizing the parks, especially once winter came with
Sure.
the early sunset times. A lot of people aren't able to get out into their parks after work hours if they work a 9 to 5. And we knew that with people not being able to use gyms and other
Yeah.
places they may have used in the past, that it was really important to provide
Lorenzo
an
hasn't
avenue.
used a gym since 2013, just to let you know. So thank you for making this available to him.
So,
Yeah.
but it was really great.
would say.
Park supervisors, rangers were really supportive about us opening different parks, kind of
Yeah.
hopping it around the district to have a close park for everybody. And we had a huge turnout.
Yeah, you did.
Lots of people that came out and enjoyed the parks at night.
Kyle, almost 7 million visits last year, and this was
Yeah.
putting a part of the program. So, at the risk of putting you on the spot, it was a rough year, right?
Oh, definitely.
In every conceivable way, but you have to feel good about what your team did to deliver, clean, safe, and natural.
I definitely agree. The big thing with the COVID is everything else was closed.
Yep.
Everything closed except for the parks.
Yep.
The governor was really big on get outside, enjoy it, and for mental health and in your own well-being, you got to get it outside,
said.
get that fresh air, enjoy yourself a little bit. So the after hours were great because, like she said, the sunset times,
Yeah.
you just can't make it out sometimes.
can't.
And it also gave us an opportunity to give the general public just another way to see the parks because we're never really open after dark.
Right.
We close at sunset,
Right.
so they can't come in and enjoy that. So to be able to offer that and kind of give us a whole new niche to play with,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to look into and see how people took it, and they really enjoyed it. So
That's well said. Lorenzo, anything as we as we close out here with our two guests, heavy paddling, but also a really heavy commitment to service.
I want to say thanks, to you guys and everyone in your departments, because you're right. It was a tough year.
Yep.
And to be able to almost on the fly, let's put these new programs together. Let's do these virtual things. Let's do After Dark. It's a tough ask. And for me only being here a year and the worst year as far as the world,
not a coincidence.
The world is concerned, to see the Metroparks be the best thing available for people was really cool. So I know for me it felt really good to be a part of it. So thanks.
Definitely.
He said that to every single guest, and I can't ever tell when he's being sincere or not, but he also said it to you. So, yeah.
I feel it.
Thank you. Thanks, yeah.
Yeah, thank you both. Yep. We've got another year ahead of some ambiguity, certainly, but both of your departments and both of you individually have really risen to the task. So, at the risk of double dipping here, thank you. Thank you for your time and everything you do. I couldn't be prouder to work amongst you. So, thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for being on the podcast. We'll be right back with our top three.
All right, and we are back. That was a lot of good information. Two super passionate individuals paddling their way to better physical and mental health. And I think I didn't know some of that stuff.
There was a lot of useful information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it played good information how to get more information, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to access the water temperature and levels and things like that. So I also think it's really cool that two people who set a course to be involved in the outdoors and then amongst that found a specialty that really caught their passion. Mm-hmm. So this is a calling to them, and now they're spreading that love to new people who are experiencing it annually. I think Kyle's comment about working close to the river on a daily basis and being able to plug in with kids playing, right? So
I think I know when people ask me questions about my job or what gardening or anything, that's something I like to do. So I express it a lot because it's fun and just see those people come and like these two that we had and be able to express their love of kayaking to other, especially kids.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. And also too, how to break those barriers down, because there are people who are terrified of the water, right? Or want to do this, but will feel awkward even getting in the boat. Yeah. And that's a pretty shared experience, right? Very few people are like, I want to kayak and I feel comfortable just diving into this craft. So, and also kind of how to for dumpster diving and creating your own sea vessels. We'll probably have to cut that out based on our insurer, but information nonetheless. That's got kind of information.
What a opposite story from when Dave said he got his first boat. Kayak. When he saved up his money all summer, bought a nice new one, and
it just goes to show this show is for everyone, Lorenzo.
Yeah,
this isn't a pretentious show, or this is for everybody. Want to get a boat in a dumpster? We'll tell you how. Yeah. We've got the best dumpsters in town for outdoor rec. Anyway, we've got a top three, the least popular part of our show, but that's okay. That's just what the audience keeps telling us, and we're going to ignore it.
And every time they say that, I'll say, you know what? This is for us.
That's right.
We got your download. You don't need to listen anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We've been lying about those statistics for almost a year now.
Can you wait? Let's just pause. Can you believe we've almost been doing this a whole year?
I can. This one feels like a year. So, no, I can't. That's one of the strangest things about time, right? And I don't know if this year is even more that way or just further indicates what we're articulating, that in some ways it feels like just a nanosecond. In other ways it feels like an eternity.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. You just started here within a year.
Yeah,
right?
Be a year next month.
Yeah. How about that, man? Yeah. All right. Well, don't expect a gift.
Expect a part. Oh.
Yeah. This is my friendship is your gift.
Oh, okay.
So it's like an edible arrangement. Yeah. It's like an edible arrangement with all honeydew. So anyway, we got to get this show rolling. We don't have time to screw around congratulating you. Our top three summer vacations, either ones that you've been to or ones that are aspirational, was our task to come with today. So without further ado, your number three, best summer vacation or want to summer vacation.
So when I was younger, my dad, we would drive to Texas in the winter.
Yes.
I've said the story several times here, but that's right. And one time he took us, instead of coming back, we went out west and made the trip longer coming back, but we went through like the Grand Canyon and went through Wyoming and like made a trip out west, and that was really cool to see that stuff, because he would point out my like I said before, my parents were migrant workers, so he would point out where they would go when they were working, and then but just see the mountains and be out there.
You should
really
drive.
Awesome.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, we drove.
Yeah, absolutely. That way you take it all in.
Yeah, I think there was at that time there was 7 of us in a van. I think my grandma was with us, and we would just drive. Yeah. And
you can't remember if you got her in the van or not.
No, I can't. She went with us several times. I just can't remember if she was on that one. You know what? She was, because we went to Colorado.
Yeah, and you haven't seen her since.
No. Yeah, my mom and grandma like gambling, and they.
Oh God, here we go.
We went to Colorado, and my mom was like, "Hey, we're gonna go check out this casino," and my dad was stuck with us for like 6 hours.
Sure,
but anyway, I would like to do that again, like with my family.
Hey, carry this on to your daughter and son. Yeah, that's cool. Important.
Yeah,
that's a great
really
one.
Cool. Yeah. What about you, number 3?
Number 3 for me is my sister is getting married this year, and previously it was going to be last year, and she wants to do it overseas. Her words, not mine. She's waited this long, so why not have it be an event? Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, frankly, for any number of reasons, but I'd love to be able to go. She wants to have it in Italy.
Oh, wow.
So there's she's traveled there with her to-be husband on multiple occasions. That's kind of their place. So I hope that I'm able to make it there. So that's my number 3. I wish that, first of all, that she can go and it's exactly what she wants, and she and her husband Justin have a great time, but also that I'm able to be there.
I would love to do that. I'm terrified of the flight.
Sure.
To get there.
Yeah.
And there's really no other way to get there.
There really isn't. Yeah. Well, you could take one of these dumpster
kayaks.
Yeah. And just gorilla tape them together, it sounds like, and it's right there.
Yeah. But being in Europe sounds awesome. It's just. International anything to me is terrifying.
Okay.
Just because I need to have everything perfect, and if I wear the wrong shoes somewhere, it freaks me out. So
I wish that we had another 4 hours to talk about your bizarreness, but we don't. So I guess we got to keep moving forward. Right. I would really like to spend 45 minutes talking about how neurotic and bizarre you are.
Another podcast.
People need to know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That'll be our year anniversary podcast. We really deep dive into each other.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's a joke for a different time too. So let's move into number 2 for you. I can't wait to see the HR email that's going to be generated from this podcast.
They don't listen either.
So number 2.
Number 2, probably the best vacation I've ever been on. Number 2 for me was Disney World.
Okay.
A lot of it's so polarizing. You either, when you went, you loved it, or you went and you did not like it at all. And for me, it was the best vacation. It was probably because I was with my wife and my 2 kids.
Yeah.
We were there for
how old were they when you were there?
7 and 4.
Okay, so they can participate.
Yes, yeah, and that's
an important part of the plan. How old those kids are.
Yes, we started planning when my daughter was 1. Yeah, knowing like she has to be older because we're not going to change diapers after a ride or anything. Right. But everything was so perfect, and even at the end, we were at the Magic Kingdom our last night there. The fireworks were going off as we're leaving the park.
Yeah,
and
you realize you didn't put your grandmother in the van again.
No. And I'm lagging back a little bit, pushing our stroller, and Andrew's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like crying. I was like, "The kids are never going to be this little. We're never going to do this again." She goes, "It's okay." But that's when it hit me like, man, this was awesome.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah. I really wish my second one was different. So
I love doing that to you, by the way.
Yeah. My number 2 is to visit my grandfather's gravesite. So that's all the more meaningful.
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay. But now you really set the bar so high, this one is going to sound like totally stupid. So I'd like to follow the Oregon Trail and leave no, I'm kidding. I don't know what to say after your stupid crying one thing with your kids. For God's sakes.
I'm just telling you. I mean, it was only my number 2.
That's why people like you. They don't know that this is all a facade.
Oh, okay.
They don't know what a tyrant you are behind the cameras here or behind the microphone. 2, this I used to fish with my grandfather in Montana, and I would love to be able to revisit, not necessarily to just fish, but that part of the country again. I've got relatives in Denver, maybe
they'll find my grandma.
Yeah. That's they've been looking since you left her there, you negligent monster. But that is, I would love to do that and see that part of the country again. It was overwhelming. It's been, goodness, maybe 20 years since I've been back.
Isn't it crazy how something like that can stick with you too?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to revisit Montana or the Pacific Northwest. Either one of those two locations would be great for me to revisit.
Yeah.
And hang out.
Yeah, because it's remembering. Hey, I saw this 20 years ago, but also like catching up too.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one, another tearjerker. I'm sure.
No, number one.
Okay. Thank God.
Something I recently found out about, and it's really cool. I like, and I've
The dentist?
no.
Okay.
No. I love driving vacations. I like because that's how I grew up, right? So the ultimate driving vacation is the Pan American Highway.
Okay.
It goes from the northernmost part of Canada all the way down through South America.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I don't know how long it is. I don't know if you could do it in the summer. I'm assuming you can. But that would be, for me, that would be so cool.
There's something really appealing to me to that long driving experience where you see all those things. Although driving admittedly is awful, but you do get to experience more, not unlike what we talked about from a paddling perspective, is seeing it from the road.
Yeah.
As opposed to seeing it by plane or visiting a location and getting it through the ether of the internet or something of that variety. Yeah. That is really appealing to me. You get all that Americana and you get to see the oddities that you would have never seen otherwise.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I agree. That's really cool.
That's why I love driving places, because you can just decide, you know what, we're gonna stop here for tonight. This city looks cool, or let's stop off and see that thing.
Yeah, I feel that way about driving even in the city. I know this might be a bit of a stretch, but I rarely take the highway because I like to just kind of see what's going on in town. I know that seems like an odd stretch.
No, I understand
but it's the same sentiment, right?
I mean, I don't like going downtown. If I go with Andrea, she has to tell me how to get around, because I don't like going downtown. Okay, but it's the same thing. Like if I drove through it more, then you'll see like, oh, this thing here, or how to get
this old church, or you wonder how what the neighborhood is like.
How'd this restaurant get here, and how's it so popular?
Yeah, absolutely. Why does that guy have all that crap in his yard? I'm serious. That's the stuff you take in. Yeah.
Those are one of the frogs from Toledo 25 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Number one.
For me.
Yes.
Number one is I have a best friend who I met in daycare that lives in just outside of Los Angeles. He lives on a boat, and I haven't been out to see him in an embarrassing amount of time. And I usually see him once a year, and not unlike everyone else who's listening and yourself, there's been some separation.
Yeah.
I really need to get out and see him. So that, to me, is my number one thing I want to do this summer or summer trip, is visit him.
Yeah.
I love him. He's like a brother to me. And we have not been able to connect the way that we normally do, and so that part of me is missing. So I want to head out to Los Angeles, and I'm sure after a half day I'll be sick of him again. But
that's part of being best friends.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 43, so I've known Dylan for 40 years, and I miss him. So that would be my number one trip.
Nice,
heading out there and just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, that's important. I know, just being in touch with my high school friends.
Yeah,
like it's fun, and some of those friends, like you can go a year without talking to Dylan, and then you talk to him, and it's like you never stop.
Absolutely,
That's right. I like that part of it.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So I mean, they really are family as opposed to friend, and not that both things don't have the real advantage, but that would be my number one trip, man.
Awesome.
Got to see that bozo on his boat, and then just sit around. We don't need to fill the time, right? But it would be great.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, that is our top three.
Take it or leave it.
That's right, and they usually leave it.
Yes.
But for those of you who have still listened, thank you for your commitment to us, and thank you again for Amanda and Kyle for coming in and plugging not only your paddling, but the two components of what the Metroparks does that serves our public in transactional nature, right? So the safety and also an activation standpoint. So thank them both in both of those departments.
Yep. If you want to know any more information, like I always end this podcast, check out metroparkstoledo.com. This has been the Metroparks Podcast. Get outside yourself.